Freedom is Green went from Occupy Wall Street to FarmAid this week in 6 days. We found some of the same social justice themes we found on the streets in New York City. Walking around, talking with farmers, we found a voter registration booth at FarmAid, and voter ID was a big concern. A lot of farmers are poor and they're finding they don't have the proper ID to vote in Pennsylvania, and possibly in other states. This is turning into a national issue. Also, we found something that was impacting farmers across Pennsylvania and really across the country, and that is fracking. This is gas extraction using techniques of hydraulic fracking. They dig deep into the ground and they put high pressure chemicals and liquids into the shale stone to extract the natural gas. And this is having a tremendous impact on the environment, not just the wells themselves, but the truck traffic in and out. Poor farmers are selling their leases in order to make money on gas leases today. And we encountered two farmers at FarmAid who were really articulate about this subject, and we wanted to present it to you. So, at FarmAid, here's a bit about fracking.
We're here at FarmAid today, out in Hershey, Pennsylvania. A little sunshine and the smell of chocolate in the background for sure. We're here with some family farmers from Pennsylvania, one from the Poconos, one from Western PA.
First well is about to be drilled in our township, but what's happening is we have a history of strip mining in southern Clarion County. The latest strip mine that is opened in our township is specifically to extract shale for the drilling pads. So it's not just the gas wells going in, it's also all these other resources that they're pulling out of other places for this operation, and it's amazing how we're moving stuff around the country. There's sand coming out of Wisconsin, there's shale coming out of new strip mines in western Pennsylvania. The waste is going into Ohio, so it's not just that the Marcellus shale is impacting Pennsylvania, it's impacting statewide, it's impacting nationwide.
In our area, it's impacting our farms in a negative way. A lot of farmers have felt that they needed to take that fracking or take the lease, make their farms successful.
Okay.
Or either that or to sell the farm and move somewhere else.
Gotcha.
And that's been my experience with it, and that's what I've seen happening in our area. In particular, our area would be affected by the natural gas drilling, in that people would be moving through our county, not so much actually fracking within our county. And so that's how it's going to be impacting us. Really, it's an impact on the infrastructure. I mean, on the roads, on emergency services. If there was a spill moving through our county up into the northern parts of the northern tier there, if there's a spill, it's our emergency crews, it's our river and our small creeks that are going to be affected by all of those issues.
I can tell you that directly because we did it, and after we signed ours, I was sick to my stomach for a week because I knew what the potential is for losing our farm, but otherwise we were about to lose it anyway. We got to a point where there were no resources left. We had signed a lease in early summer. I had come up with a new business plan for the farm, and I used all our credit to get that going. All our equity line, credit cards, everything was blown out. So we in desperation, we signed this lease. It was supposed to come due about the 1st of October. Last week of September rolls around. We had no money left to pay about $400 worth of bills. We couldn't even put it on a credit card or an equity line. We had no resources left. An Amish neighbor called and said, "I'll pay you $400 if you can take me to Canada for a funeral." Came through at the last. Our lease payment came the next week. So it was that point where we've never defaulted on a payment, but it's because we've been living on credit. And when you live on credit, of course, you build up more bills, and it gets harder and harder and harder. A lot of people are in that mess, and I think one of the things that I have to say is that we get into these debates, and there's so many people who feel very strongly about this, and so rightly so, because it's so devastating. But there's a lot of people out there like me who, out of desperation, signed a lease, and we don't want the destruction. We care about our neighbors, we care about our families and our farms, and we can't speak up and talk about our experiences because angry, and it feels like they're angry at us, even though, I do care about these things, and I don't want it to see it happen. I'd love to see a moratorium in Pennsylvania and all over against this drilling. I don't want to see our farm wrecked, but we were in a position where we felt like we had no choice.
Shallow gas wells, I mean, they're the old existing wells that had been there from past gas drilling, because gas drilling isn't new.
Right.
So it's not a new, but what's new is the hydrofracking. That's the new industry, and how they extract the gas. But what's happening is a lot of that gas is starting to come up through those shallow wells. They're not as deep as they are in western PA because of our geology in northeastern Pennsylvania. Thank God, so far we've been able to keep them out of our Delaware River Basin, thanks to the Delaware River Basin Commission, and keeping it out of the New York drinking water supply. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I heard that New York just recently okayed gas drilling within New York State. So.
That's real tough.
It's just a tough political fight, is what you're saying.
Well, it is because it's so entrenched in Pennsylvania. Anyway, it seems like it's so entrenched, even at the highest levels of government.
Really?
And if you look at who the campaign contributors are to our elected officials, you'll see a lot of gas and oil companies on there.
Right.
And if you look closely, sometimes you don't see the gas company name, but you'll see half a dozen people who work for that company. Individual contributions.
And even in counties where gas drilling isn't even happening, in my county, even some of our elected officials are still being funded by some of those corporations. I think that the only way anything's ever going to happen about the industry is from a grassroots level of people rising up and saying, this ain't happening here. And I think that's the option that we have.
Well, you heard it here at FarmAid. You've got to get grassroots from the farm up to get serious about fracking. Thank you very much.